Good old Erronfold Banesworth here, and welcome to another tale of beasties with me. Let's start these stories then, shall we? Come back for more tales from good old Erronfold Banesworth, have you? Well, I've got a special treat for you all. I recently went on an adventure with a strange fella who was able to travel from dimension to dimension. Well, an adventure it was. Old Erronfold has seen many a thing in my time, but this adventure I saw some strange beasties I'd never seen before. Such wondrous and bizarre creatures. The first of these beasts was a strange one. You see, myself and Nexum, that's the guy's name, went from one dimension to another after a strange beastie, I think it was called something like SCP-4335, took us to a strange video game universe. And I was enjoying myself, battling strange beasts, when we got taken to another dimension all of a sudden. Nearly slayed the biggest, creepiest beastie in that place, I can tell you that now. A dimension filled with more creatures, known as video game characters. Only these ones were in the form of dragons and such. This beastie was in some form of armor, an armor that grows with it over time, hiding away the true form of this beast. Don't let that fool you though. This creature be formidable, that would be. The arm was golden colour, with the limbs looking like a bronze material. The face had a red visor, and the eyes, well, where the eyes should be, there was a green type of visor. The head and the chest were blood red. 'Twas awe-inspiring, and my first thought was, how can I slay this beastie? Its tail was long and had a form of cannon on it that can fire lightning bolts at its opponents. This beastie, I named it the Aranius Drake. And other than being covered in a form of armor, this beastie was able to roll up into a ball and go about crushing those in its path. The size of this thing made it very lethal, a devastating attack at that. Good old Erronfold here thought as it rolled, the beastie was leaving a present, if you know what I mean. These things were like giant glowing round stones. Maybe it was some kind of treasure. Well, it wasn't too long before one of these things exploded, causing a blast that could deafen a man. Impressed I was, to be fair, but this wasn't enough to deter my desire to slay this beastie. I must say my blood was boiling, and the pure excitement of battling this large beastie brought back the fire of me youth. And I was just about to attack this creature when, what would you know, there was a loud crash and a roar. Another dragon appeared, and this one was similar in colour, but it had more like a tortoise shell on its back. It wasn't too long before the two beasts were battling each other.
So what did you do when they attacked each other? Did you attack them both? Did you run and hide? What did you do?
Nah, lad, despite my looks, old Erronfold here has more sense than to fight both these creatures at the same time. It's better to let them battle it out and slay the winner. After it's been weakened, it may not seem fair, but as they say, all's fair in love and war. And against these beasties, war is in my books. Now this beast that came and crashed out of nowhere, attacking the Aranius Drake. Like I said, it had a shell on its back with some spikes on yellow skin. Wings that looked strong enough to take out a few dozen men with a single swing of them. Its claws were razor sharp, shredding through the ground. As it hit large crater-like ditches suddenly appeared. This battle was a sight to see, and I wouldn't be lying if I said the land itself was changing with each passing blow. It seemed to also have some form of spike on its limbs. This creature that attacked the Aranius Drake. And the battle between these two went on for what seemed like an eternity. Both had high defense and fierce attacks. Would class them both as titans and powerhouses in our world. This yellow dragon is one that I called the Bowvern. I only called it this name as it just kept saying Bowser over and over again as it attacked, but it looked more like a wyvern than it was super strong and true like any dragon-like beast. Its mouth filled with fire and fireballs flew out of it. You wouldn't imagine the force of the blast, lad. Many adventurers would have wet themselves and ran away just from the sound of the impact alone. Although a more experienced and legendary adventurer such as I just stayed and watched with excitement. A gleam in my eye. It's rare to see such a fight between mighty colossal titans, let alone watch two of them battle each other. My only regret is that I can't show you how amazing this was. The ground and air shook as these colossal titans continued their relentless attacks. neither one giving an inch in this insane battle. Well, that was until...
Until what? What happened? Come on, you can't stop now. Let's get into a good part. Tell me what happened.
Well, that'd be a bit mean of good old Erronfold if I just stopped there, wouldn't you, lad? But I didn't see what happened next coming in this battle. This was far beyond what I expected. That Aranius Drake turned into a bull, and the Bowvern brought its limbs and its head inside of its shell and started to spin on the spot. Then it began moving in the direction of the Drake. Before I could think about this crazy sight, both of these beasts collided, and it sounded like the heavens roared, as the noise from these beasties' butting heads made the other attacks look like nothing in comparison. It was a sight to behold, let me tell ya. As for who won this fight, it was a bit of a disappointment, but rather funny to see. And if you really want to know, good old Erronfold will tell ya. While they're in equal strength, attacking this way, the Bowvern jumped out of its spinning shell and swung its tail at the Aranius Drake, hitting it with such force to send it flying through the air, into the atmosphere to come crashing down. Well, only God knows where, or those it might have landed on. I have to say, I almost died laughing on the spot, seeing the overwhelming look of satisfaction on the Bowvern's face, as it sent this foe flying through the air. Not as glorious as killing your opponent, you know, but after seeing that sight, old Erronfold here decided to let the beast be. It's been many a year since I had a laugh that hard, let me tell you.
So, Erronfold, time for one more? I'm sure there's another beast you can tell us about before we call it a night. Go on, you know you really want to.
Well, lad, I'm not sure. It's getting late and past your bedtime if you ask me. Har! I suppose I can tell you about one last beastie from this strange, bizarre place. One that also had a form of armour on it, with a rather unique set of ability and features. But its face was strange and menacing. The mouth had 4 sections to it, with sharp fangs running along those, 4 claws on each of its front feet and 2 claws on its rear. This beast could run fast and jump large distances. Kinda like a frog, but it was not a frog, I assure ya. This beast was also extremely strong, perhaps stronger than the previous 2 titans of beasts that I mentioned. Nevertheless, this creature also had a strange form of armour, and as for its abilities, well, it's been a good while since good old Erronfold would have to be on guard, seeing or hunting a beastie. This one had me watching me back the whole time it was around. The reason for this is because this one could blend in with its environment. It could disappear from sight. Even though this only lasts a short while, good old Erronfold can't see hide nor hair of this beastie while it's doing this. Only the faintest of sounds could be heard, but the benefit was this creature could not maintain this rather troublesome ability for long. That being said, I have to say, I was just a wee bit on edge when it first vanished from my view.
But haven't you fought against creatures that can blend in with the environment or disappear before? It should have been easy for you, right?
Aye, that I have. But this beast had another ability that put me on edge more than its disappearing act. Its tail and front limbs had a form of bone spine that would be covered in an electric type effect. Now normally I wouldn't be afraid of a little bit of a shock, but I saw this creature slash through a boulder like it was a flaming blade through ice. The slash was so fierce, even Erronfold here had to be on guard. As for the armour on this one, it was only partly covered, and was far easier to wound. However, getting close enough to wound this beastie was another matter. Perhaps I'll tell you how the fight went between me and this one another time, but let me tell you this. It was one hell of a battle, and one of the closest calls I've had in my adventures.
How'd you guys like good old Erronfold Banesworth talking about some of the video game dragons he came across? I have to say, I'm really torn which one's my favourite on this one. They all came out really well. So let me know which one's your favourite in the comments below. Monday is a promised episode. It's going to be Dungeons & Dragons mech armors. So Alpha Dragon, hope you're going to take a note and watch this one because it's what you requested. If you like how this video turned out, why not check out some of the other dragon episodes on the channel. I've got turning My Hero Academia characters into dragons, some Ben 10 aliens into dragons, and a whole host of fun, funky lore stories. So be sure to check that out. Anyway, stay safe everybody. I'll catch you next time.